This is your complete travel guide to the historic city of Philadelphia. I'll show you everything from the best attractions, using public transport to get around the city, the best places to get fat from junk food, where you can pretend to be a boxer from a movie, and how to have the best time of your life in the city of brotherly love, and sometimes brotherly hatred. Welcome to Philadelphia, the city where American history was made, cheesesteaks are a religion, and sports fans will beat you up for no apparent reason. This is your no BS, brutally honest travel guide to Philadelphia. So let's start by having a look at a map. You'll realise that it's actually quite big and scary, but let me make it easy for you to understand. Historical stuff here, middle of the city there, museums, park and zoo here, avoid, definitely avoid, and sports. I suppose I better start at the most famous attraction in the city. The Liberty Bell. Probably the most famous bell in all of America, and the symbol of Philadelphia itself. It was originally made in London and brought over in 1753, where it sustained its now famous crack. But despite this, the Liberty Bell remains a powerful symbol of American freedom and equality. It's free to go inside, you'll be security searched before you do, and there's a nice exhibition detailing its history. But in reality, you're here to see the bell up close and personal, learn a few facts about it, take a few pictures, and that's about it. It's a good job it doesn't cost anything to see, because it won't take you all that long. The Liberty Bell is on the grounds known as Independence National Park, and you'll see lots of cool things around here, such as the President's house site. Many people don't realise that before Washington DC, Philadelphia was the capital city of the United States, and instead of the White House, the President used to live here at the President's house. It's a preserved ruin at the moment, but pretty cool and free to walk around. As the former capital of the USA, the government traditionally operated out of this, Independence Hall. This is where the first government of the United States assembled, and rather more famously, where they literally signed the Declaration of Independence, to break free from us Brits to form their own country. You treasonous bastards. This is a must-see attraction, as you'll actually get to go inside the hall, where the Declaration was signed. The tour guides here really bring this to life. It's an interesting building, and it's kept pretty much exactly as it would have been hundreds of years ago. Guided tours of Independence Hall are completely free, but they operate on timed tickets. So book early and don't miss out on this immense piece of American history. There's also a small exhibit around here called Declaration House, where Thomas Jefferson drafted the Declaration of Independence, but meaningful if you're into Revolutionary history. Around here, you'll also find Washington Square Park and the Tomb of the Unknown Soldier. It's a quiet, reflective, beautifully landscaped public square, with their own unknown soldier and eternal flame, very similar to what you'll find in Arlington Cemetery in Washington DC. It's often overlooked, but it's a peaceful detour just outside Independence Hall. By the way, if you do need assistance here in Philadelphia, head on over to the Independence Visitor Center for free maps and advice on where to go. But if you ask the staff here, they'll tell you all about their favourite son, Benjamin Franklin, and the many attractions in the city that bear his name. You can visit his former place of business, the market houses on Franklin Court, where you can see his printing presses and how he made a fortune printing at a time when newspapers were not all that common. You can visit his museum to learn all about his life, with interactive exhibits and cool stuff on display. And you can even visit the man himself, as he's buried right here at Christ Church Burial Ground. If you toss a penny onto his grave, it's apparently meant to give you good luck. Which explains why I've had atrociously bad luck recently, because I refuse to donate even a penny. I'm that stingy. Once you finish donating to a dead guy, you'll find this palatial building right here, the National Constitution Center. If you don't know a damn thing about American history, this is a cool museum in which to do so. It's interactive and modern, great for kids, history nerds, or idiots like me who don't like it when it rains. There's places where you can learn all about the Constitution and its amendments. You can pretend to be the President of the United States and sit on an old guy's lap. Well, sort of. Across the way is every bank robber's dream: the US Mint. Traditionally, this is where all American money was made, before they moved operations to Washington DC and Texas. It's surprisingly fascinating. You can learn all about the history of American currency, see coins being made, and it's free to go inside. Security is tight though, there's no phones or bags allowed, and they unfortunately don't give you any free samples of money, which is a shame. Now, a lot of travel guides will tell you to go to the Betsy Ross house. Betsy Ross, for those of you who don't know, invented the second official US flag, of which the current design is evolved from. She did this in this historic house right here. You can see how she lived and worked. And even though the live actors bring it to life, you won't be here for very long. And truth be told, it was probably not worth the price of admission, so only see this place if you're really that interested. Something that's a lot more interesting, and free, is literally around the corner. Elfreth's Alley. This is America's oldest continuously lived-in street. With its cobblestone charm and quaint architecture, it's a great photo opportunity, but you'll be done in 5 minutes tops. Especially if there's damn roadworks around here. That's pretty much everything in the historic district of Philadelphia. But as we walk towards the center of downtown, you'll come across the African American Museum, the Fashion District, the very upmarket indoor shopping mall. Clean, modern, there's some decent shops, but it's honestly no different to what you're used to back home. You'll also find Chinatown, actually underrated. You can find lots of great Asian food places, bubble tea spots, and it's quite lively. And whilst we're talking about food, Philadelphia has some great eateries, but the best places to eat are rather conveniently located in just one building. Reading Terminal Market. A traditional market that is foodie paradise. This is where you'll find soul food, breads and pastries, stuff from the sea, enough sugar to give you diabetes, and overall, if you like food, you'll be very happy in here. You'll also find the world's best donut shop, Baylor's, the most heavenly donuts made by the Amish, and you absolutely must try something from here. Amish donuts. Who knew they'd be so good? It's also here where you'll find the world famous Philly Cheesesteak, a sandwich of fried steak cooked with gooey cheese. The best place to try it at Reading Terminal Market is Spadaro's, which was pretty awesome. But I know what you're going to ask me. What about Pat's and Geno's? For those of you who don't know, these are the two warring establishments that have both claimed to have invented the Philly cheesesteak. You'll find them both across the street from each other, right here in this no-go neighbourhood. If you want my brutally honest opinion, both are tourist traps, both were pretty terrible, and it certainly wasn't worth risking my safety at night for. Geno's was incredibly salty and bland at the same time, and Pat's, the self-proclaimed king of steaks, had bread so chewy that I needed a new set of teeth. If you must visit, go for the photo opportunity, but don't actually eat there. If you want the best cheesesteaks in town, go to Sonny's, which you'll find around the corner from the Liberty Bell. Trust me, you won't regret it, these were easily the best steaks in the city. And don't eat at Prima Hoagie's next door, arguably the worst I've ever had. Anyway, let's walk off all that food by visiting the largest attraction in the city. Philadelphia City Hall. It's the biggest municipal building in the United States, with the statue of William Penn and its iconic clock tower. It's a sight to behold. The architecture is immense, and you can take the elevator up to the observation deck, where you can take in some amazing views across the city. From here, you'll see this long street going northwest that seems to go on forever. This is Benjamin Franklin Parkway, which conveniently leads you to everything to do with art and culture in the city. You'll find the famous Love sculpture here at JFK Plaza. You've probably seen a copy of this before, but the original is located here. Keep walking and you'll eventually come across the Cathedral Basilica of St. Peter and Paul. It is massive, gorgeous inside too, and it's worth spending around 10 minutes of your time to say a quick prayer or to look at the architecture. It's free to go inside, so you might as well. Next door, you'll find the Academy of Natural Sciences. It's basically a natural history museum. Dinosaurs, bugs, butterflies, that sort of thing. This is one that the kids will love, and it's very family friendly, depending on your enthusiasm for dead animals. If you want something a bit more alive, go inside the Franklin Institute. It's a science museum that's actually fun. You can walk through a human heart and interact with planes and trains, knock stuff over, blow stuff up, sort of. Great for family and or childish adults. And if you're into art, you'll find the 3 most important art galleries in the city right next to each other. The first is the Rodin Museum, a sculpture museum showcasing the works of Auguste Rodin. His most famous piece that you'll recognize is this, The Thinker, but overall pretty impressive for such a small museum. The Barnes Foundation, which is an important art gallery full of classics. The Joy of Life by Henri Matisse is probably the most famous piece you'll find in here. It's a good impressionist gallery if you like works by Picasso, Monet, Van Gogh, etc. But the most famous art gallery in the city is the Philadelphia Museum of Art. This world-class museum is ginormous. There's no shortage of art, sculptures and paintings that will keep you happy in here. Please note that this is quite overwhelming, so only go if you're okay to spend some serious time in here, because it will take you a while to see absolutely everything. The reason why most people come to the Philadelphia Museum of Art isn't because of what's inside the building, but because of the rather famous stairs that lead up to it. These are the Rocky Steps. If this looks familiar to you, that's because this is the staircase that fictional boxer Rocky Balboa runs up during his training montages in the Rocky Balboa films. You'll find many people trying to emulate Rocky by sprinting up the stairs and posing like an idiot at the top. Go on, my son. But instead of doing that and making a complete boob out of yourself, take a picture with the famous Rocky Balboa statue itself, which you'll find at the bottom of the steps. There's usually a long queue for this because of annoying tourists, so be patient. It's also a nice place to pick up some Rocky merch if you're a fan. If you don't want to pretend to be Sylvester Stallone, Fairmount Park is right here. It's a massive park space. It's very peaceful. It's a great place to run, bike, or escape from the chaos of wannabe boxers, especially if the weather is nice, not like when I visited. It's at Fairmount Park where you'll also find Philadelphia Zoo. One of the oldest zoos in America. It's a nice layout. They've got some cool animal tunnels. It can be on the pricey side, but it's good if you have a family that you need to entertain for an afternoon. One place that isn't for kids is one of the oldest prisons in the world. The Eastern State Penitentiary. A haunting, decaying prison that once imprisoned Al Capone, this was the pioneer of how most prisons are laid out and operated today. If you go for a tour, you'll learn all about its grisly history, some of the people that were imprisoned here, and you can literally feel how terrible this place actually was. Even though my video footage shows that this is straight out of a Stephen King novel, it was actually one of the coolest and most unique attractions in the city. The included audio guide definitely brings this place to life, and after leaving here, you'll be glad that you're not in a place like this. Philadelphia is known for its amazing sports teams, and rather conveniently, all the sports stadiums are located right next door to each other. The trouble is, it's nowhere near the downtown area, so you'll need to jump on the subway at City Hall and ride it south to the end of the line, NRG station. The 3 main stadiums you'll find are Citizens Bank Park, home to the baseball team, the Philadelphia Phillies. It's a nice game day atmosphere, and out of all of their sports teams, the Phillies have the nicest set of fans. The Wells Fargo Center, home to the city's lacrosse team, the Philadelphia Wings, the basketball team, the Philadelphia 76ers, and the notorious ice hockey team, the Philadelphia Flyers. They're nicknamed the Broad Street Bullies for a good reason. But the largest stadium in this area is Lincoln Financial Field, home to the American football team and current Super Bowl champions, the Philadelphia Eagles. These are the ultra-aggressive fans that you don't mess around with, especially if you're a Dallas Cowboys fan like me, of whom they absolutely hate. The game day atmosphere at all of these sports is immense. However, Philly fans are notoriously aggressive, and wearing the wrong jersey at the wrong time and place means trouble. If you want to avoid said trouble, I recommend that you wear neutral colours. That said, I did wear my Leafs jersey to a Flyers game and watched my favourite ice hockey team beat the snot out of the Flyers, which was amazing. If anyone wants me to make a specific game day guide on what to expect, leave a comment in the comment section below. But all that aside, whether it's the American history, the cool culture, the amazing food, or the immense sports atmosphere, I'm sure you'll love it here in Philadelphia. Okay Nin, I'm sold. What do I need to do? Well, you need to come here to Philadelphia. You'll probably fly into Philadelphia International Airport, and to get to the downtown area, use the SEPTA airport train, which will take you to City Hall in about 25 minutes. You could fill up a SEPTA card using one of these machines if you're planning on using public transport a lot. But if you're only using it sparingly, just use your contactless credit or debit card like this and away you go. Alternatively, use bus number 37, 108 or 115, but that takes longer. When you've arrived at City Hall, you can get to pretty much everywhere else in Philadelphia using a combination of subway and buses. The system is very self-explanatory, easy to use, and it's almost impossible to get on the wrong subway or bus. Again, if you're using public transport a lot, buy a SEPTA card from a machine, as each trip averages about $2. If you plan on walking everywhere, just use your own credit card on the few times you need it. Rides cost about $2.50 a trip. In the summertime, there's a tourist bus called the Philly Phlash. This is a downtown loop which will take you to all of the main attractions listed in this video. Buy a single day or several day pass if you seriously don't like walking. I highly recommend that you don't drive around here, as parking is limited and incredibly expensive if you do find it. Also, one wrong turn means that you'll be on the bridge back to New Jersey, and then you'll have to pay the toll charge to come back, just like I did. The cost? Most of the attractions I've mentioned in this video are free. You only really need to pay for the few specialist museums that might interest you. And in general, attractions are typically priced for a North American city. The most expensive things you'll do is eating and drinking and attending sports events. If you're looking for a place to stay, I recommend staying in the historic area of Philadelphia. My personal recommendation is the hotel I stayed at, the Wyndham, which was an excellent hotel located around the corner from the Liberty Bell, right next to Benjamin Franklin's decaying corpse, and most importantly, just 2 blocks away from Sonny's Cheesesteaks. Is there anything else I need to know? Yes, Philadelphia is nice, but it's not Disneyland. I mentioned at the beginning of the video to avoid these areas on the map, and for good reason. They're just not safe for tourists to be around. You'll see plenty of homelessness, addictive drug use, signs of crime, and there's nothing much for you to do here anyway. And absolutely do not go into these areas at night. I'm seriously not joking. Heed my warning and stick to the main areas I mentioned in this video. Also, keep an eye out when using public transport, as crimes such as thefts and assaults are quite commonplace, particularly on the subway. If you're vulnerable, never travel on public transport alone. If you are driving, do not park anywhere where you shouldn't, not even for a minute. These guys have no problems towing your car away within literal seconds, and you'll face a hefty release fee to get it back. Almost every major attraction comes with airport-style security, so please pack lightly and be prepared to have things like bags and pockets searched at every stop. Follow my advice and you'll have a safe and pleasant time here in the city of brotherly love, or immense hatred, depending on how you look at it. If you found this guide helpful, like, share and subscribe, and check out my channel for more brutally honest travel guides. Leave me a comment or tweet at me, and I'll see you on the next episode of Ultimate Bucket List.
Cool.
Maybe it's just me being an old fart that way, I don't know.